Shotgun snap Montez, same play, that screen to Shea Fields on the right side. He breaks it around the block, running at the 45. It's a foot race, and they're not going to get him. 20, 15, 10, 5, touchdown! Touchdown, Colorado! And Shea Fields is putting on a show here in Boulder this afternoon.
Well, it was a big day for Shea Fields and the Colorado Buffaloes. Fields 169 yards receiving, 3 touchdowns. Montez was great. Defense was great. In fact, I'm not sure if any aspect of this football team didn't play well. Welcome into the Stampede. Mark Johnson along with Gary Barnett. The Buffaloes are 4-1, 2-0 in Pac-12 conference play as they dominate the Beavers of Oregon State 47-6. Use the term on the radio, complete ball game for the Buffaloes.
I think the only part of this game that wasn't excellent and complete was maybe you and I and our
well,
broadcast.
that's given.
I
Yes.
mean, yeah, it's given, but that's what we fight for, isn't it? You know, it was a complete game, and you saw Shea Fields make that run, and Devin Ross blocked 2 guys, gotten 2 guys' way to break that thing. And I think we saw a lot of that all day. We saw receivers blocking for running backs. We saw running backs blocking for receivers. We had a great job with the offensive line defensively. You know, everybody fit where they were supposed to fit. We had very few breakdowns. You know, you don't get too many, and this is the second one you and I have talked about this year in 5 games.
Yeah, the Idaho State game was a complete game as well. Awful impressive, though. You go against a Power 5 team in Oregon State, and you don't give up a touchdown to a team like that. And that's some pretty rarefied defensive error, too.
It is, and you don't turn the ball over. And, you know, these guys are playing at a high level. And we saw last week that when they had to play for 60 minutes, they could play for 60 minutes. And we saw this week when they didn't need to play for 60 minutes, they could get the job done in just the right amount of time to let everybody else play. You know, this team's hitting on all cylinders. I think coaches are hitting on all cylinders, and it's a good feeling when it's like driving an automatic transmission as opposed to a stick where you got to do everything. You got two feet and 3 pedals,
Yep.
you know, and you still got to do this. Well, they don't have to do that now. These kids are on cruise control.
Yeah.
That's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah. Buffalo's also got a great performance out of the young quarterback once again. Nearly 300 yards, 3 touchdowns by Steven Montez. This young man has got some talent, doesn't he?
He does, and I think he's just getting better every week too. And you know, we saw him today throw the ball away when he needed to throw it away. We saw him not throw any foolish balls. We saw him play heads up in the audible game. We saw him. You know, there were a couple times when they had the swing passes out there, and he had somebody in his face, and he'd sling it under or he'd go it over. You know, he's just learning how to take care of business and how to be effective.
Steven Montez has been impressive. Now, we don't know what's going to happen. Cephalufas still got the ankle injury, and that's going to be week-to-week kind of thing. But they're in good hands regardless to where they're playing. You know, the other thing is, we talk about injuries. Diego Gonzalez goes down. The Buffs might have found themselves a kicker today. How about this young man, Davis Price, a 54-yard field goal in his first college attempt?
Well, that was impressive. And what I was impressed with was his extra points were up right now, and he kicked the ball off well against a guy that we begged him not to kick to. They didn't listen to us, but they knew what they were doing because Davis Price can kick the ball.
Yeah. And by the way, that guy that Gary's talking about was Victor Bolden, who came in as the top kick returner in America. Explosive. He'd had touchdowns on returns, rushing, receiving. They made him a non-factor today in many respects.
Well, you could say that about the whole Oregon State team.
That's true,
they became
yes.
non-factors.
Yeah.
They bloodied our nose in the first drive. I think we needed that to wake up. I bet if the Buff coaches on offense could replay the first 3 plays of that game, they'd all 3 be runs. And we may never have been in that situation. So you learn. But that may have been the only series that really wasn't a good series for the Buffs, was the first series of the game.
Yeah, they got backed up deep in their own field 2 or 3 times. It was the only 3 and out for the Buffaloes in the ballgame. Big challenge this week. Now, the Buffs did win in a hostile environment against a great program last week, Oregon. Now, this week, they get the win. Now they go off to USC at the Coliseum next week. Big challenge.
Well, they're playing a team that's struggling,
Yeah.
you know, frankly, and that's a dangerous thing when an animal's wounded, and that's what SC is like, is they're wounded because they got so much talent, and these guys know how much talent they have, and they're going home. A lot of them are going home. Distractions abound, and if they handle themselves the way they've handled themselves every week, there won't be an issue. But as a coach, you've got to safeguard that as much as you can. You've got to control everything you can control, but it's a hostile environment. I don't think it's hostile probably as what they faced in Oregon.
Sure. Or Michigan.
Or Michigan. So, you know, they've been bloodied. they know what it's like now, and now it's up to them to go play their ball.
Boy, the Buffaloes have been impressive. 4-1 for the first time since 2005 as they dominate the Oregon State Beavers 47-6. Next week at USC, that's a 2 o'clock Mountain Time game. Gary and I, along with Bobby Passavano, are going to hit the air at noon Mountain Time on the Colorado Football Network with all the action. For the coach, Mark Johnson, we'll continue on the Stampede. Next, we're going to talk to Jay McIntyre, who's been awful good as a punt returner and a receiver. That'll happen next here on the Stampede.